Hey, I'm Jeff the Junk Seller, and this video is going to be a presentation about what I'm having to do to replace Canton, and how to remain solvent, and the real purpose for backstock. Um, this month, during the weekend that was supposed to be Canton First Mondays, I didn't have anything to do. I ended up going up to central Oklahoma, south central Oklahoma, and I went to the Ardmore market on August the 30th at the FLEA to Fun. I really like the management there. They're doing some capital improvements there. We got rained out, but and I only made about $100 there because of the weather. But they're putting up carports. They got 14 by 20-foot carports. I believe that market will grow. I don't think that I'm going to be a continual seller there. I wasn't able to find anything to buy there. It was a bit disappointing. Sales were just flat, even though with the weather, I don't think I would have made too much money. But then on Sunday, I went to Sulphur on the 31st of August, and I set up a dog trade, and I did better there. I sold about $400, which was kind of a surprise. I sold a Confederate bond, a frame Confederate bond, for, I believe I took $175 for it, on a 225 ask. I had it marked 225, but I've been telling everybody 200, and the guy offered me 175, and I took it. It was some of that stuff that I got from David Rose. I'm on the plus side of that purchase at this point, I believe. But I got out of there without a whole lot of money. I did I do like those markets. I wasn't able to buy anything at the dog trade, but sometimes it's not always about what you buy or what you sell. At the FLEA to Fun market in Ardmore, I met the people that were set up next to me. They had retired, and they were looking to buy storage units for something to do in their retirement. And they had bought 5 of them so far. They hadn't got any great stuff yet, but we swapped a bunch of stories. I ended up giving them my card, told them about this channel, and I do believe that they will end up contacting me with some pretty good stuff. They had bought, I think at this point, 5 units so far, but they plan to do much more in the future. And they were just kind of getting their feet wet and getting prepared. But when I was at Dog Trade, there were a couple of guys that were set up next to me, and you could just tell they were either estate sale cleanouts, or they were working for a real estate agent, or they were buying storage units just by the mess that they had out there. And when I went and asked them, they told me that they were buying storage units. One of the guys had a job, and the other one was doing this full time, and they told me that they were on their 8th unit, and they were still through the garbage processing phase. They hadn't learned how to pick the good ones yet. But I talked to the one guy that's doing it full time, and he said, "Well, I wish there was somebody that could coach you for this stuff." And I said, "Well, what did I just do?" And I mean, it was a pretty good laugh, because I was telling them how it was that you have to find the good units, and that is to get a large television screen and to scroll incessantly. The storagetreasures.com, they put on a handful of photographs, and you can tell by the photographs whether that's the unit that you want. You got to do a little bit of detective work and process the information that they do provide you to find out whether that's the one you want to gamble on or not. But they came and looked at my booth, and they saw, I had some coins, and I had some paper money, stuff that I bought from David Rose, and, English coins from the 1600s, and Texas Republic paper money. And they were fascinated that stuff could be found in storage units. And I told them, it's just a matter of time before they're scoring that stuff. And they didn't know how they were going to value that stuff. And I said, well, if you'll send pictures, the same message that I gave to the folks in Ardmore, if they would just send me pictures, I would be able to tell them something about what it was worth, and maybe even make them an offer for the stuff. But it wound up, I told them that I was banned from Canton, and they told me that they only lived 25 miles from Canton. And my guess was Athens, but they ended up telling me that they were from Emory, which is north, where Athens is south. And I told them, dude, as angry as I am with the Lewises, the place that you guys belong right now, this weekend, you should be on Lewis, out in the field, offering this stuff. I told them what it would cost for them to set up. They got a little camper trailer to stay in, and I by the time it was over, they had decided that next month that they were going to be at Canton. I don't know if that's going to be true, but I gave them my card, and but the point of the story is that either of these two associations could end up putting me in some really good stuff. I don't have to buy all the units that the good stuff comes out of. Sometimes I can just work with somebody that made the score, because if somebody gets a coin collection or a photograph collection, something like that, they might not know how to handle it. And I do have some experience in that. And generally, I will get somebody better money for their stuff if I'm working for them than they could on their own. But I did that sale, and then I ended up doing Bonham, and here I wound up coming and staying at State Park for a couple of days, and money is just really, really tight. I need to get into eBay, and I need to put stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And when I start doing that, I will put a presentation together showing that stuff. I used to sell on eBay. I gave it up to focus on Canton, and I'm just having to transition from abandoning everything and focusing on Canton to abandoning Canton and going back and doing a lot more diverse things than I used to. But I'm nearly insolvent last night, and I was sitting around thinking about it. And the young kid that I know up in Oklahoma, he buys a lot of silver, and I was talking to him about an ad that I have on Facebook Marketplace, where I had 33 silver spoons, coin silver spoons, early American stuff, and I had offered for $350, but I never changed the ad. But the price of silver has changed. So whenever anybody contacts me, it's about 500 grams of silver, and whenever somebody contacts me, they want to know what my best price is, and I always reply $500, and it gets them pretty perturbed. But I'm gonna have to take that ad off. I'm telling this kid about it, and he said, "Man, I would just scrap that stuff." And I got to thinking about it, that might be the solution to my current cash flow problem. And today I took it to the scrapper, and he doesn't want anybody to know what he pays on stuff, but I got around $400. It was and this stuff I bought at an estate sale in Flower Mound. I made a trip out to North Dallas, Fort Worth kind of area out there, and was picking. There were some neighborhood sales, and there were a lot of garage sales out there a couple of summers ago, and I just chanced upon this estate sale. And I think that I either paid around $220, somewhere like that, or $270 for all of that silver. And I got better than that here today. And I made myself solvent again. But that's the whole purpose of backstock. I don't have a bank account with a whole lot of savings in it, but I do have storage units that have stuff that I can go. And when you're talking about precious metals and semi-precious metals, that stuff is so easily convertible that it's as easy as taking it into a shop somewhere. I would recommend that you find one of the better ones. I've got a pretty good guy in Tyler. I send a lot of business his way, and I sometimes I think he pays me a little better for having been real supportive of his business since he opened it. I think we've known each other for about 4 years, but I recommend him highly, and he's just it's just easy for me to get solvent again. And I don't know. I'm going to go to Bowie, and then from Bowie I'm going to go to Buffalo Gap, and I don't know. I may have to pull some rabbit out of the hat to be solvent again. But I hadn't bought anything lately, which has been a bit of a drag, and I'm having to tap resources that have been put behind me for a rainy day, and it happens to be that time now. I'm one rainy weekend away from being completely insolvent and having to go and pull a rabbit out of the hat for sure. But these are some of the problems with being a dealer and a picker. You have to that emergency, that crisis management. Sometimes it has to do with dollars. It's not always about the weather or security. Sometimes it's just about cash flow. But if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, and if you have, then please view some of my other material, and thank you for viewing.